You know what is strange? We write entire think pieces about Gen Z demanding work-life balance. We analyze millennials and their obsession with purpose-driven companies. Workplace consultants publish quarterly reports on what Gen Z wants from managers. But there is this entire generation sitting quietly in the middle of every org chart, making every workplace function, refusing to complain, and operating by rules nobody taught them and nobody fully understands. Generation X. Born between 1965 and 1980, they are your manager who hits every deadline but never asks for a raise. Your colleague who's been at the company for 14 years knows where everybody is buried and has turned down 3 recruiter calls this month. The VP who comes in at 7 a.m., leaves at 5 p.m. exactly, and is never posted on LinkedIn. Their work psychology is completely unlike any other generation, and it all traces back to one specific moment in corporate history. Picture this. It is 1994. You are 19 years old, and you watch your dad come home from his 3rd week of outplacement counseling. He worked for that company for 22 years. He knew the CEO. He was 2 years from full pension vesting. One Friday, they handed him a box, walked him to the parking lot, and deactivated his badge on the way out. The corporate downsizing wave of the early 1990s was not a recession blip. It was a philosophy shift. Companies discovered they could cut headcount and watch stock prices rise. For everyone over 30, it was a brutal lesson. For everyone under 20 watching it happen to their parents, it was a lifetime lesson in institutional trust. Gen X learned something millennials and Gen Z never had to. The company will always choose itself. Here is the first thing that confuses people about Gen X at work. They appear supremely loyal, showing up consistently, rarely complaining, not job hopping, but they feel zero actual loyalty to the institution. They are loyal to their work ethic, their team, their personal reputation. The company is simply the current venue. Gallup data confirms this. Gen X has the lowest emotional engagement at work of any generation, yet consistently ranks highest on actual performance metrics. They have decoupled caring from performing. Here is something that baffles millennials. Gen X does not need recognition to stay motivated. A 2022 Deloitte study found that Gen X workers rank autonomy and flexibility significantly higher than praise or public acknowledgement. Millennials flip this. Recognition and purpose rank highest. The psychology is direct. Gen X learned that corporate recognition is political, not meritocratic. Watching people get laid off regardless of performance taught them that praise means nothing when the balance sheet changes. So they stopped needing it. Gen X invented the side hustle before millennials gave it a name, and for a completely different reason. Federal Reserve data shows Gen X has higher rates of secondary income than any other generation. But here is the crucial difference. Most kept their day jobs. They were not trying to build a personal brand or become their own boss. They were building an escape hatch. Your Gen X boss who does consulting on weekends is not doing it for the hustle. They're doing it because they watched their parents lose everything by depending on a single paycheck. Here is one final pattern that seems old-fashioned but is actually brilliant. Gen X refuses to perform work. They do not have elaborate morning routines or post-productivity content. They sit down, do the work, and leave on time. Research from MIT Sloan found that Gen X employees complete complex projects 23% faster than average when given autonomy and minimal process overhead. So here is what Gen X work psychology really tells us. They are not cold, cynical, or checked out. They are adapted. Adapted to an environment that promised job security and delivered quarterly restructuring. They do the work. They protect their team. They do not need your validation. And they will leave without drama when the math stops making sense. That is not dysfunction. That is the most rational possible response to 40 years of corporate history.